My name is Riley Carter, and if you had asked me 6 months ago where I'd be today, I would have told you something predictable, sitting at my desk on the 15th floor of Viridian Dynamics, sipping stale coffee from a chipped mug while staring out at the skyline. I was just another cog in the corporate machine, or so I thought. But life has this funny way of twisting itself into shapes you never see coming, like a storm that sneaks up behind you when all you're trying to do is keep your head above water. I started working at Viridian 7 years ago, fresh out of college with big dreams, but zero idea how to make them happen. It wasn't glamorous work, mostly spreadsheets, emails, and meetings that could have been handled in 5 minutes but somehow stretched to an hour, but it paid the bills, gave me health insurance, and allowed me to feel like I was climbing some invisible ladder toward, well, something better. Or maybe not better, exactly, but at least different. Today, though, feels anything but ordinary. The air in the office is electric with anticipation, buzzing like static before a lightning strike. There's a reason for that. Today marks our CEO's 20-year anniversary with the company. 20 years of being the golden boy, the visionary leader who turned Viridian from a struggling startup into one of the most profitable firms in its industry. His name is Gregory Henshaw, though everyone just calls him Greg, or the boss, depending on their mood. He's charismatic, polished, and always seems to know exactly what to say to inspire people, or manipulate them, depending on which angle you're looking at him from. And then there's me, sitting here in my cubicle, pretending to focus on a report I'll probably have to rewrite 3 times anyway. My heart's racing, but not because of Greg's milestone celebration. No, my pulse is hammering because I've been called into his office. Right now. This morning. Without warning. And trust me, nothing good ever comes from being summoned by the boss unannounced. When I walk into Greg's corner office, the first thing I notice is the view. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city perfectly, sunlight streaming in like he's living inside a postcard. Then I notice him standing near his desk, arms crossed, wearing that signature tailored suit that makes him look more like a movie star than a CEO. Next to him is Karen, the HR director, holding a manila folder that immediately sets off alarm bells in my head. "Riley," Greg says, gesturing for me to sit down. His tone is calm, almost friendly, but there's something sharp lurking beneath it, like the edge of a knife wrapped in velvet. "Thanks for coming in." Karen doesn't waste any time. She sits across from me, opens the folder, and slides over a stack of papers. "We're going to need you to sign these," she says matter-of-factly, as if we're discussing lunch orders instead of whatever this actually is. "What is this?" I ask, flipping through the pages. Severance agreement. Non-disclosure clause. Final paycheck details. My stomach drops like someone cut the elevator cables inside me. "This is standard procedure," Karen replies smoothly. "Effective immediately, your position at Viridian Dynamics will be terminated." Terminated. Just like that. 1 word, 8 letters, and suddenly my entire world tilts sideways. I can hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else. But why? I manage to choke out, even though deep down, I already know the answer. It's not about performance. I've exceeded expectations every single year. It's not about attendance. I haven't taken a sick day since I started. No, this isn't about me at all. It's about numbers. Budget cuts. Downsizing. Whatever corporate euphemism they want to slap on it to make themselves feel better. Greg finally speaks up, leaning back against his desk like he owns the damn place, which, technically, he does. "Riley, you've been a valued member of this team," he says, flashing that practice smile of his. "But unfortunately, decisions like this aren't personal. They're business. Business. That word again. Like it erases everything else. Like it excuses throwing someone's life into chaos because the bottom line needs a little boost. I try to argue, to reason with them, but it's useless. They've made up their minds, and no amount of pleading is going to change that. So I leave the office clutching the severance papers, feeling like I've just been punched in the gut. My coworkers avoid eye contact as I pack up my things, muttering awkward condolences under their breath. By the time I step outside, the weight of reality crashes down on me. What am I supposed to do now? Who am I without this job? Later that evening, after hours spent staring blankly at the wall of my tiny apartment, I decide to distract myself by scrolling through social media. Big mistake. The first thing I see is a live stream from Viridian's anniversary gala. Of course, they're celebrating tonight. Champagne glasses clink together, laughter echoes through the speakers, and Greg stands center stage delivering a speech about perseverance, dedication, and gratitude. Gratitude. That word sticks in my throat like bile. "I couldn't have done it without each and every one of you," he says, raising his glass. "Together, we've built something extraordinary." The camera pans across the room, showing rows of smiling faces. People who still have jobs. People who get to cheer and toast and bask in the glow of success while I sit here alone, unemployed and angry. I scroll through comments flooding in from employees praising Greg for his leadership, calling him a legend, saying they're honored to work under him. Honored. The irony is suffocating. But then, buried among the glowing remarks, I spot something unusual, a comment from someone named at TruthSeeker42. Wonder what Greg would say if he knew half his staff was terrified of him, it reads. Intrigued, I click on the profile. Most of the posts are private, but one public thread catches my attention. It's a list of allegations against Viridian Dynamics, illegal layoffs, discriminatory practices, embezzlement rumors. None of it surprises me, not really, but seeing it laid out like this makes my blood boil. Could it be true? Could Greg, the same man shaking hands and posing for photos right now, really be hiding something darker beneath his polished exterior? And if so, what kind of leverage might I have to expose him? By Monday morning, I'm back in the office, not as an employee, but as a ghost haunting the halls. Well, technically, I'm picking up some forgotten belongings from my old desk. But as I weave through the maze of cubicles, I overhear snippets of conversations that stop me dead in my tracks. Heard Riley got can last week, whispers Lisa from accounting. Guess she didn't fit into the new vision anymore. Yeah, but did you hear why? Adds Mark from marketing. Supposedly, she found something in the financial records. Something Greg didn't want anyone to see. Wait, what? I freeze mid-step, pretending to search for something in my bag while straining to catch more of their hushed exchange. No way, Lisa gasps. You think she stumbled onto something big? Maybe, Mark shrugs. But either way, she's gone now. Probably for the best, right? You don't mess with Greg unless you want to end up like... Before he can finish, both of them glance around nervously and lower their voices even further. Too low for me to hear. But I don't need to. Their words spark a fire inside me, lighting up pieces of a puzzle I hadn't realized existed until now. What did I find? Was it accidental, or did Greg suspect all along? And why does it feel like I'm missing something crucial, something that could turn the tables completely? As I walk out of the building for the last time, gripping the box of random office supplies I salvaged, I realize two things. First, getting fired might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. Second, Greg Henshaw doesn't know it yet, but our story is far from over. The next few days blur together in a haze of caffeine, restless nights, and frantic Googling. I can't shake the feeling that Mark's cryptic comment held more truth than he intended to reveal. Something about Viridian's financial records. That has to be it. Those endless spreadsheets I pored over for years weren't just boring data, they were breadcrumbs leading somewhere dangerous. And now, thanks to my involuntary departure, I have nothing left to lose. I start by digging into the company files I backed up on an old external hard drive months ago. It was habit, really, a safeguard against losing work during server crashes or accidental deletions. Back then, I thought of it as being responsible. Now, it feels like fate handed me a weapon. Sitting cross-legged on my couch with takeout containers scattered around me, I dive into the labyrinth of numbers and codes. At first glance, everything looks normal. Quarterly reports, expense sheets, revenue projections. But buried deep within the files is something odd. A series of transactions labeled consulting fees sent to shell companies I've never heard of. Consulting fees? For what? And why funnel them through obscure entities? My heart races as I piece together the timeline. These payments started appearing shortly after Greg took over as CEO 20 years ago. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not. It hits me like a freight train. What if these weren't random anomalies but part of a larger scheme? Money laundering? Embezzlement? Tax evasion? Whatever it is, it reeks of corruption, and Greg's fingerprints are all over it. Determined to dig deeper, I reach out to @TruthSeeker42, the mysterious commenter whose post caught my attention. After sending a direct message explaining who I am and why I need their help, I wait anxiously for a response. Hours pass before my phone buzzes with a reply. Meet me at Joe's Diner tomorrow at noon, the message reads. No name, no explanation. Just those 9 words. Joe's Diner turns out to be a greasy spoon tucked away in a corner of the city where tourists rarely venture. The neon sign flickers erratically, casting a dim glow over cracked vinyl booths and faded formica tables. When I walk in, I spot @TruthSeeker42 immediately, a wiry man in his late 40s with glasses perched precariously on his nose and a laptop open in front of him. He motions for me to sit down. You're Riley, he asks without preamble. I nod, sliding into the booth across from him. Name's Daniel. Used to work IT at Viridian until, well, let's just say I got too curious for my own good. His tone is cautious, almost paranoid, but there's a fire in his eyes that tells me he knows far more than he's letting on. What do you know about those consulting fees? I ask, cutting straight to the chase. Daniel leans back, studying me carefully. Depends. How much are you willing to risk? Everything, I say without hesitation. Because honestly, what do I have to lose? He nods, seemingly satisfied with my answer. Then he pulls out a flash drive from his pocket and slides it across the table. This contains everything I managed to gather before they push me out. Emails, invoices, internal memos, you name it. If anyone can make sense of this mess, it's you. I stare at the tiny device, my mind racing. This isn't just evidence, it's a bomb waiting to explode. And if handled wrong, it could destroy us both. Over the next week, I immerse myself in the documents Daniel provided. Each file uncovers another layer of deceit. Fake contracts, inflated budgets, bribes disguised as bonuses. The deeper I go, the clearer it becomes that Greg didn't build Viridian Dynamics into a powerhouse through innovation or hard work. He did it by playing dirty, manipulating systems, and silencing anyone who dared question him. But exposing this won't be easy. Greg is untouchable, or so he thinks. He's cultivated a loyal inner circle, bought off regulators, and mastered the art of plausible deniability. Taking him down will require precision, patience, and allies I don't yet have. That's when inspiration strikes. Remembering Lisa and Mark's hushed conversation, I realize there must be others like me, people who saw cracks in Greg's facade but were too afraid to speak up. People who might be willing to fight back if given the chance. Using burner phones and encrypted apps, I begin reaching out to former colleagues who were let go under suspicious circumstances. Some ignore my messages, others respond with skepticism. But slowly, painfully, I start building a network of insiders eager to reclaim their dignity and justice. One evening, as I'm reviewing notes in my apartment, there's a knock at the door. My stomach tightens. Who could possibly know I'm here? Cautiously, I peer through the peephole and see Lisa standing outside, her arms crossed nervously. "Can I come in?" she asks quietly when I open the door. We sit at my kitchen table, the tension between us thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, she speaks. "I heard what you're doing," she says. "About Greg. About Viridian." "How?" I ask sharply. "Doesn't matter," she replies. "What matters is whether you're serious. Whether you think you can actually win." "I don't know if we'll win," I admit. "But I know we can't stay silent anymore." For a long moment, Lisa studies me, weighing her options. Then she nods. "Okay, count me in." As the weeks pass, our group grows stronger. We meet in secret, pooling resources, sharing stories, and strategizing our next move. Every step forward feels like walking a tightrope, but the closer we get to unraveling Greg's web, the more empowered we become. Then, one night, everything changes. While combing through the latest batch of documents, I stumble upon a single email that makes my blood run cold. Sent from Greg's personal account, it contains instructions for shredding incriminating evidence ahead of an upcoming audit. Attached is a list of names, people scheduled to receive hefty payouts in exchange for their silence. At the top of the list is Daniel. Panic surges through me. Grabbing my phone, I dial his number, but it goes straight to voicemail. I try again, and again. Still no answer. Something's wrong. Terribly wrong. Without thinking twice, I grab my coat and rush out the door, heading toward Daniel's address. The streets blur past as adrenaline courses through my veins. By the time I arrive at his apartment building, dread has settled heavily in my chest. When I knock on his door, there's no response. I call out his name, pounding harder. Still nothing. And then I hear it, the faint sound of sirens in the distance. Standing frozen in the hallway, I realize the stakes have just skyrocketed. Whoever we're dealing with isn't just powerful, they're dangerous. And if we're not careful, this fight could cost us everything. But backing down isn't an option anymore. Not for me. Not for any of us. Because sometimes, revenge isn't just about settling scores. Sometimes, it's about taking back control of your life and proving that even the most untouchable giants can fall. The sirens grow louder, piercing the quiet of the night. My heart pounds as I frantically knock on Daniel's door again, but there's still no answer. Panic grips me. What if they've already gotten to him? What if this is a trap? Just then, the elevator dings down the hall, and footsteps echo toward me. I freeze, unsure whether to run or stay. Then a familiar voice calls out. "Riley, what are you doing here?" It's Daniel. He looks disheveled, his glasses askew, clutching a bag in one hand and glancing nervously over his shoulder. "I got your message," I say, relief flooding through me. "I thought something had happened to you." "No, not yet," he mutters grimly, unlocking his apartment door. But we need to move fast. They know someone's poking around. Inside, Daniel dumps the contents of his bag onto the table, stacks of printed emails, thumb drives, and handwritten notes. His hands shake slightly as he explains. They're cleaning house, he says. Greg's calling in favors, silencing anyone who could spill the beans. That list you found, it's not just payouts. It's a hit list. My stomach churns at the implication. This isn't just corporate corruption anymore, it's criminal conspiracy. And we're standing right in the crosshairs. Over the next few days, our group works tirelessly to piece together an airtight case against Greg. With Daniel's intel, Lisa's connections in accounting, and Mark's marketing expertise, we create a dossier so damning that even the most skeptical journalist would have no choice but to publish it. But getting the evidence into the right hands proves harder than expected. Every lawyer we approach seems too afraid to touch it, every news outlet hesitant to risk backlash from Viridian's deep pockets. Frustration mounts as time runs out. We can feel the walls closing in. Then Lisa has an idea. What about Evelyn Hayes? She suggests during one of our late-night strategy sessions. She used to work for the SEC before going freelance. If anyone can navigate this minefield, it's her. Evelyn turns out to be exactly what we need, a sharp, no-nonsense investigator with a reputation for taking down high-profile targets. When we present her with our findings, she doesn't flinch. This is explosive, she says, flipping through the documents. But it's also dangerous. Are you sure you want to go public with this? Yes, I reply firmly. We didn't come this far to back down now. With Evelyn's guidance, we leak the story to a major investigative journalism outlet under strict anonymity. Within hours, headlines explode across the internet. Viridian Dynamics CEO accused of massive fraud scheme. The article lays bare decades of misconduct, naming names, and providing irrefutable proof. The fallout is immediate and brutal. Shareholders revolt, demanding answers. Law enforcement launches an investigation. Employees flood social media with their own stories of abuse and intimidation, turning Greg's carefully constructed empire into rubble overnight. For the first time in years, I sleep soundly, knowing justice is finally within reach. Months later, sitting in a cafe with Lisa, Daniel, Mark, and the rest of our ragtag team, I scroll through the latest update on my phone. A judge has ruled in favor of a class action lawsuit brought by former employees, awarding millions in damages. Greg, meanwhile, faces multiple charges and will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. You did it, Riley, Lisa says, raising her coffee cup in a toast. You took him down. We all did. I correct her, smiling. This wasn't just my fight, it was ours. As we clink glasses, I realize something profound. Revenge isn't about destruction. It's about reclaiming power. About proving that even when the odds seem insurmountable, courage and determination can change everything. And sometimes, the greatest victories aren't just personal, they're collective. Together, we didn't just expose a corrupt system. We built a new foundation for fairness, accountability, and hope. Life moves forward now, lighter and freer than I ever imagined possible. For the first time in years, I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. And though the scars of the past remain, they remind me of how far I've come.